We're going to work on the next 5 questions from the practice final exam. For this example, we want to find the equation in terms of x of the line through the points -2, 1 and 5, -1. So we have 2 points on the line. I'm going to let one point be x1, y1, the other one be x2, y2. We can calculate the slope. The formula for slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. To calculate the slope, we would have -1 minus 1 over 5 minus -2. 1 minus 1 is -2, and 5 minus -2, that's 5 plus 2, which is 7. So we have a slope of 2/7. We have a couple different ways that we can find the equation of the line. One that I like to use uses the formula y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. This is called point slope form. We're going to use the slope and a point on the line, and we'll substitute in either one of these points. It doesn't matter which one, but I'll go ahead and use this one that's already labeled with x1, y1. We have y minus 1 equals the slope of -2/7 times x minus x1, that's x minus -2. And when we simplify this, we would have y minus 1 equals -2/7 x plus 2. I'll distribute that -2/7. Y minus 1 equals -2/7 x minus 4/7. I'm going to add 1 to both sides. It'll give y equals -2/7 x. And I need a common denominator to add these together, so I'll change 1 to be 7/7. And we'll combine those two. -4/7 plus 7/7 is 3/7. So this is one way to get that equation in terms of x. Let me show you another very common way to do it. This other way will use slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, and you're going to substitute the slope in for m, just like before. And then let's use this x1, y1 in for this x and y. And then we'll solve for that b. So if we do this right, we should get the same value of b that we got here, the 3/7. So making those substitutions, we would have 1 equals -2/7 times -2 plus b. 1 equals +4/7 plus b. I'm going to solve for b, so I subtract 4/7 on both sides. I have b equals 1 minus 4/7. I have to get a common denominator, so we'll write 1 as 7/7. 7/7 minus 4/7 is 3/7. So you can see we got that same 3/7. And now we can write the equation in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. That's y equals the slope of -2/7 x plus 3/7. So there you have 2 different ways that you can find the equation of the line. One of them uses point slope form. That's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, and the other one is using slope-intercept form. It's y equals mx plus b. On this question, we're given the function f of x equals 7x squared minus 8x plus 8. We want to calculate these values, f of -2, f of -1, f of 0, f of 1, f of 2. Now with this notation, The number that we have inside the parentheses is the value of x. We want to substitute that value in for x and simplify. So f of negative 2 is 7 times negative 2 squared minus 8 times negative 2 plus 8. When we work this out, we want to be careful and follow order of operations. With order of operations, we apply the exponent first. Negative 2 squared is 4. Negative 8 times negative 2 is a positive 16. 7 times 4 is 28. So we have 16 plus 28 plus 8. 28 plus 16 plus 8 is 52. So f of negative 2 is 52. Let's do the next one. F of negative 1, 7 times negative 1 squared minus 8 times negative 1 plus 8. We have 7. Negative 1 squared is 1. Negative 8 times negative 1 is a positive 8. So we have 7 plus 16, and 7 plus 16 is 23. So f of negative 1 is 23. The next one is f of 0. Remember, I'm changing these x's to 0. That's 7 times 0 squared minus 8 times 0 plus 8. 0 squared is 0. 0 times 7 is 0. 8 times 0 is 0. Plus 8 gives us 8. F of 0 is 8. The next one is f of 1. 7 times 1 squared minus 8 times 1 plus 8. 1 squared is 1 times 7, 7. Negative 8 times 1 is negative 8. 7 minus 8 plus 8 is 7. F of 1 is 7. One more, we have f of 2. 7 times 2 squared minus 8 times 2 plus 8. We're going to follow order of operations, applying that exponent first. 2 squared is 4. 8 times 2 is 16. And we have 7 times 4, that's 28, minus 16 plus 8. 28 minus 16 plus 8 is 20. F of 2 is 20. From this question, we want to solve the inequality and write the answer in interval notation. Use the union between two intervals and two lowercase o's for infinity. So that's for us using interval notation. We want to solve this inequality. 13x minus 15 is greater than negative 5 plus 6x. When we solve an inequality like this is a linear inequality, we follow the very similar process to linear equations. We want to simplify each side independently. That means removing parentheses, combining like terms. And then once we've simplified each side, then we want to collect the variables on one side. I like to, with inequalities, collect the variables on the left. It makes the inequality symbol a little easier to read. So I'm going to subtract 6x on both sides so that the equation stays balanced. That would give us 7x minus 15 is greater than negative 5. I'm going to add 15 on both sides. 7x is greater than 10. And then I'll get x by itself by dividing by 7 on both sides. When we divide or multiply both sides of an inequality, you need to be careful. Anytime you divide or multiply by a negative, you reverse the inequality symbol. On this example, we divided by 7, which is positive. We don't reverse the inequality symbol. So our solution is x is greater than 10/7. We do want to write that answer in interval notation. It will be helpful for us to draw a graph. 10/7. It's marked on the graph. We're going to mark it with an open circle. The open circle means that the number is not part of the set. Then x is greater than on the number line. Numbers that are greater than lie to the right of the number. And we get 10/7 to infinity. 10/7 is our lower bound, and I'll use parentheses. Infinity is our upper bound. I use a parenthesis there. The parenthesis has the same meaning as the open circle, which is that that number is not included in the set. If I had an equal to, the number would be included, and you'd use a bracket. In this example, we want a graph y minus 2x is greater than or equal to -1. This is a linear inequality. Inequality because of the symbol here. Less than, greater than, less than or equal to, and greater than or equal to are our inequalities. We have a linear inequality in two variables. We have both x and y. When we graph an inequality like this, we're going to graph it in two stages. The first stage is the boundary. The boundary is the inequality changed to an equal sign. So that would be y minus 2x is equal to -1. So we start by graphing the boundary line. We get the boundary line by changing the inequality symbol to an equal symbol. Now we can graph this line in multiple ways. You can graph by plotting points, you can graph by plotting intercepts, or you can graph using slope-intercept form. I'm going to solve for y by adding 2x to both sides. That gives me y equals 2x minus 1. Now I've written this in slope-intercept form. My boundary line has a slope of 2 with a y-intercept of -1. Let's plot the y-intercept, and then we're going to use the slope. The slope is 2, which is 2 over 1, so I'll rise 2 and run 1. And now we're going to be able to draw our boundary line. Now with the boundary line, if you have a less than or greater than symbol, draw your boundary line dashed. If you have less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, draw your boundary line solid. So dashed means that the boundary line is not part of your solution. Solid means your boundary line is. That's why we use this equal to for solid. That boundary line with the equals is included when we draw it solid, when we have the equal to. So this one is drawn solid since we have the equal to. And then we're going to do the second part of our graphing, which is the shading. Now, we want to shade one side of this line. We want to shade the points that make this inequality true. So that's going to be either this side or this side. I need to figure out which side is the true side, so I'm going to pick a test point. You can pick any point you want as long as it's not on the line. Most people like to pick 0, 0 as the test point. And we substitute that into the original inequality, y minus 2x is greater than or equal to negative 1. We substitute that in, we have 0 minus 2 times 0 is greater than or equal to negative 1. 0 is greater than or equal to negative 1, that's true. So here's my test point of 0, 0. And it came out true, so we now know the true side. The other side is the false side, and we're going to shade the side that's true. So all of these ordered pairs that I'm shading are ordered pairs that are going to make the inequality true. All of these ordered pairs and all of the points on this boundary line make this inequality true. On this question, we're going to solve this three-part inequality. 1 is less than 2x plus 7 is less than or equal to 5. Our goal with this three-part inequality, or compound inequality, is to get the variable by itself in the middle. So whatever I do to the middle, I'm going to do the same thing to the other two parts. So I want to subtract 7 in the middle to stay balanced. I do the same thing on these other two parts. 1 minus 7 is negative 6. 2x plus 7 minus 7 is 2x. And 5 minus 7 is negative 2. I'm still trying to get x by itself in the middle. I'll divide by 2. To stay balanced, I need to do the same thing on the other two parts. Negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. 2x divided by 2 is x, and negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. So my solution are all x's in between negative 3 and negative 1, where negative 3 is not included but negative 1 is. So let's draw that on a number line. And I'm going to mark negative 3 and negative 1 on the number line. I'm going to mark the negative 3 with an open circle because we have no equal to on that inequality. So that means negative 3 is not included. And then on the negative 1, I do have the equal to, so negative 1 is included in the solution set. So I mark that with a filled in circle. Now x is in between those values, so we're going to shade between those two numbers. So the solutions to this inequality are all the numbers in between negative 3 and negative 1, where negative 3 is not included and negative 1 is. We can also write this in interval notation. Our lower bound would be negative 3 and our upper bound would be negative 1. I'll use a parenthesis on the negative 3 to indicate that it's not included, and I'll use a bracket on the negative 1 to indicate that it is included. Thank you for checking out my videos. Have a great day.